Two brothers have been arrested, charged with threatening to shoot police and ICE agents, and one of them is an assistant principal at Kempsville High School.
America, we just uncovered one of the most disturbing cases of anti-ICE terrorism that I've ever seen. John Bennett, a 54-year-old assistant principal at Kempsville High School in Virginia Beach, was arrested alongside his brother for plotting to assassinate ICE agents and police officers using armor-piercing explosive rounds. But here's what's absolutely chilling. This quote-unquote educator who worked with children every day was overheard at a restaurant discussing how he wanted to go hunting for law enforcement officers and planning a trip to Las Vegas to meet like-minded people to develop enforcement ideas and plans.
A Virginia high school assistant principal and his brother are accused of planning violence against ICE agents. An off-duty police officer reportedly overheard the brothers discussing their alleged plans at a restaurant.
What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This case exposes how anti-ICE derangement syndrome has infected our education system to the point where school administrators are literally plotting terrorist attack against federal agents trying to protect our communities. Let me break down exactly how this quote-unquote terror plot was discovered, allegedly for the YouTube purposes. On Saturday, November 15th, an off-duty Norfolk police officer was having lunch at a Virginia Beach restaurant when he overheard two brothers having what can only be described as terrorist planning sessions.
Court documents reveal several disturbing details about this investigation. So let's send it over to 10 on Your Side's Ethan Kraus, who joins us live outside of that school. Ethan.
Court documents reveal that the brothers were overheard talking at a restaurant where Mark Bennett mentioned how he had an assault rifle with the ability to utilize explosive rounds that could penetrate protective vests.
Think about that. We're not just talking about shooting ICE agents, which is bad all on its own. They were specifically planning to use ammunition designed to defeat body armor. The conversation got even more disturbing when Mark Bennett planned to fly to Las Vegas to meet what he called quote-unquote like-minded people and return with enforcement ideas and plans. This wasn't just angry white liberal talk. This was operational planning to coordinate attacks against federal law enforcement. Here's what makes this case absolutely terrifying. John Bennett isn't some random anti-government extremist. He's been working in Virginia Beach City public schools since 2009, shaping young kids' minds for over 15 years as an assistant principal at Kempsville High School. When his brother was discussing assault rifle and armor-piercing rounds, John Bennett didn't try to calm him down or suggest they find legal ways to address their concerns. Instead, according to court documents, he said he wanted to go hunting and expressed enthusiasm for joining his brother on the Las Vegas trip to meet other potential terrorists.
Both are from Virginia Beach, charged with conspiracy to commit malicious wounding. We're told one of them, John Bennett, was arrested Wednesday morning. Mark Bennett was taken into custody at Norfolk International Airport with help from airport police.
Folks, this is an educator who works with teenagers every single day, and he's fantasizing about hunting down federal agents like animals. What kind of poison has been spreading to his students under his supervision? What type of anti-law enforcement rhetoric has been coming out of Kempsville High School? The most chilling aspect of this case is Mark Bennett's plan to travel to Las Vegas for what can only be described as terrorist coordination meetings.
What a chilling story. This is an educator of children who is plotting a violent attempt against our law enforcement. He went on to say that he wanted to hunt these law enforcement officers, that he had purchased a high-powered rifle that would have the ability to pierce the body armor of a law enforcement agent.
Mark Bennett was literally scheduled to fly to Las Vegas on November 19th, the same day he was arrested at Norfolk International Airport. Think about what would have happened here if the off-duty police officer hadn't overheard their conversation and reported it to authorities. We could have been looking at a coordinated attack against ICE agents and police officers planned by a network of anti-government extremists meeting in Las Vegas. This wasn't just two brothers talking tough. This was operational planning for domestic terrorism. What drove a school administrator to plot terrorist attack against federal agents? According to DHS officials, we're seeing the deadly consequences of years of anti-ICE propaganda from the Democratic politicians and mainstream media.
I think there's a serious amount of really ICE derangement syndrome going on. people are falling prey to hoaxes. We're seeing Democrat politicians continue to push violent rhetoric against our law enforcement, likening them to slave patrols, likening them to Nazis, the Gestapo. Deranged individuals like this one, people who are mentally unwell, are going to take matters into their own hands.
This is exactly what happens when you have politicians like Alexandria Acosta, AOC, calling ICE facilities concentration camps and comparing federal agents to Nazis. When you have media outlets constantly portraying immigration enforcement as some kind of human rights violation, you create an environment where unstable people think violence against federal agents is justified.
We've seen our agents be stalked, doxxed, their families where they live being put on the dark web, where their children go to school, where their wives and families work. It has to stop now.
When these brothers appeared in court, their defense attorney tried to downplay this terrorist plot as just two brothers having a conversation, joking around. They claimed the Las Vegas trip was actually a previously planned trip to an F1 race with his son.
The defense for both defendants claimed that this was simply a conversation between brothers who hadn't seen each other for some time, and that much of what was said between the two were jokes. The defense for Mark Bennett even stating that it was a, quote, Seinfeld conversation. The defense also added that the trip to Vegas mentioned by Mark Bennett was a previously planned trip to an F1 race with his son.
So let me get this straight. Discussing armor-piercing rounds designed to kill federal agents is just quote-unquote joking around. Planning to meet with like-minded people to develop enforcement ideas and plans is just casual conversation. This defense is absolutely insulting to anyone with common sense. Both brothers were granted $25,000 bond with GPS monitoring and are prohibited from contacting each other, which in my opinion is not enough. They're represented by different lawyers, which tells you even their legal team understands how serious these charges are. The fact that John Bennett has been working in Virginia Beach schools since 2009 raises some serious questions about what kind of extremist ideology have been festering in our education system. We've talked about this a lot on this channel. This man has been in a position of authority over teenagers for over 15 years while harboring violent fantasies about killing federal agents. Virginia Beach schools confirmed that Bennett is currently on leave, but in my opinion, that is not enough. We need a full investigation into what kind of anti-law enforcement propaganda this man has been spreading to students. We need to know if other educators in the district share his extremist views.
Now, the police chief for the city, Paul Newdigate, he's calling the accusations against the pair incredibly alarming.
When school administrators are plotting terrorist attack against federal agents, it's not just a criminal justice issue. It is a national security crisis on our education system. How many other educators across the country have been radicalized by years of anti-ICE propaganda? How many are spreading this poison to the next generation of Americans? Both Bennett brothers are facing federal conspiracy charges to commit malicious wounding, which carries some serious prison time. But given the scope of their planning and specific targeting of federal agents, prosecutors should be considering domestic terrorism enhancements.
There's going to be real consequences for this individual and anyone who seeks to threaten or bring harm to our law enforcement.
The timing of this arrest is particularly significant, given the increased threats against ICE agents as the Trump administration ramps up deportation operations. We're seeing a coordinated campaign of intimidation and violence against federal agents trying to enforce our immigration laws. America, this case exposes something deeply disturbing about the state of our education system. When assistant principals are plotting terrorist attacks against federal agents, we have a crisis that goes far beyond individual criminal behavior. John Bennett spent 15 years in a position of authority over young people while harboring violent fantasies about killing ICE agents and police officers. The anti-law enforcement propaganda that has infected our schools has created an environment where educators think terrorism is justified. The fact that these brothers were planning to coordinate with other like-minded people in Las Vegas suggests this isn't an isolated incident. We may be looking at a broader network of anti-ICE extremists planning coordinated attacks against federal agents. The defense's attempt to dismiss this as joking around shows how normalized anti-law enforcement violence has become in certain circles. When plotting to kill federal agents with armor-piercing rounds is considered quote-unquote casual conversation, we have a serious cultural problem. Virginia police deserve credit for taking this threat seriously and working with federal authorities to prevent what could have been a serious attack. The off-duty Norfolk officer officer who reported this conversation may have saved many, many lives. When school administrators are plotting to assassinate federal agents, it's time for a complete overhaul of who we've allowed to influence our children. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.